Hey everybody, we've got such a cool video for you today because we're talking about how this fleet of crappy cars is breaking our wallets, breaking our hearts, and breaking everything in between. We're talking about some pretty big mishaps that have happened to our classic fleets, some extreme money pits, and some actually pretty good cars. And it's going to be myself, and behind the camera
It's Brendan.
That's right, we're going to pretend we're a store brand Hoovie today because nobody really wants a lot of these cars. But let's start over here with the Skittles collection. Now, some of these cars belong to TFL, some belong to myself, some belong to Brendan, and we'll tell you what the ownership story is with everything. And we'll start with this. My 1971 Volkswagen Super Beetle. I bought this back in March of this year for like $14,000, and I positively love this little car, even though it's kind of a mess. I think I probably overpaid quite a bit for it because this car is a sea of Bondo. I mean, you could refloat the Titanic with the amount of Bondo in this car, but it still is a fun driver that puts a smile on my face and a smile on other people's faces. And I'm not very mechanically talented, but even I have dove into some of the projects on this car because that's how easy it is to make happen. So Brendan, if you want to come over here, talk about some of the things I've done over the last couple months. So it had these really nasty door panels in it. So I went ahead and bought all new door panels, new speakers in the door panels as well, which Volkswagen people say you're never supposed to do, but I was like, screw it. And they actually came out really well. Love the way that looks. I got a couple stickers here. Got some vintage 1970 stickers I found on eBay. Got a new steering wheel in it. Got a new radio in it. Cool retro sound radio in the back. Did some engine work myself. That was something new. So it's got electronic ignition now. It has a fresh valve adjustment, which only took me 19,000 hours. So it's running fairly well. Couple of issues with the top down, which is how you love to drive it. It does overheat, which is a problem, classic Volkswagen problem. So it really needs an engine seal, and to do the engine seal properly front and back, you really need to pull the engine, and then if you're pulling the engine, you might as well do push rod tubes, which this leaks out of, and if you're doing push rod tubes, you might as well kind of dive into the heads. So I think I'm just gonna send this off to a local shop called Painter's Grinding and have them redo the engine, so I know that it's in a solid mechanical shape for next summer, because this is going to be a car I actually intend to keep. I put a ton of money into it, so I'm just going to keep dumping money at it. That seems like good financial advice, right? But it's fun to drive. Oh, it also has a fresh disc brake conversion. I had Toby, our German car mechanic, do front discs on it, so now it stops really well. It's got new wheel bearings. Little guy is really coming along. Proud with how much progress has been made and how much needs to come. So that's my bug. Over here we have the TFL Citroën 2CV, or if you're French, the Citroën de Chevaux Vapeur. This little car has been fantastic. It just keeps cranking. Brendan, you can kind of come around the front here. This has got that little 602 two-cylinder engine. It gets driven a few times a month, but when I drive it, I really drive it. I think like 2 weekends ago, I put like 200 miles on this car in like a weekend, which is pretty amazing considering it does 50 miles an hour. But it doesn't break, it's never broke, it doesn't leak, it just keeps chugging. The little guy is fantastic. No major plans to sell this right away because we actually have something really cool happening very shortly. I own the bug, we've got the 2CV, over there is a classic Mini. We're missing one car. Hint, hint. And then I think we'll have the full collection of European post-war people's cars. And then we're going to do a full series about drag racing and MPG and, you know, drive them up the hill. And it's just going to be a ton of fun. So the little 2CV, sticking around. It's a fantastic car. If you ever have the opportunity to own and drive one, strongly recommend it. We paid $17,000 for this car, worth every penny. Just lovely. And everybody laughs and smiles at it. So speaking of the classic Mini, let's come on over here. And you'll notice a plethora of Mini Coopers. So it's no secret that I'm a huge Mini fan. Brendan has owned a bunch of Minis, and we continue to do so. And we'll start with the old one, and then I'll take the camera, and we'll show you the newest one. This is my 1993 Rover Mini. Bought this car as a non-runner in 2020. So I've had this car over 2 years now. Non-runner. The clutch fell out of it is what happened. So bought it for super cheap, put a ton of money into it, and now it is not super cheap. But I did the suspension on it. It's got new wheels, new tires. It's got the lights in the front. Redid the interior, redid the radio in it, and it just won't break. This car gets driven. Well, I got driven a lot last summer, not as much as I liked this summer because I got super busy, but I try to take it out at least a couple times a month. The thing is fantastic, and it's got fuel injection. So what that means is that even if it's been sitting, like it's been sitting here for probably a month, listen to this. Like, it'll start first time, every time. got this annoying hood rattle I have to take care of, which makes it sound like it's very broken. It's not, it's just a hood rattle. It's an old British car thing. But this car, if I had to sell every car I own tomorrow except for one, this would be the one I would keep for sure, because I absolutely love it. Now that's the first Mini. Let me take the camera. And Brendan, why don't you introduce your Mini?
Yeah, so this is my new to me R52, I believe is what they called these convertible versions. And this is my my third Mini that I've owned. I had an R53 and then I had a Mini Cooper S Coupe. But I, just like Tommy, am struck by the Mini Cooper bug. And this actually happens to be my favorite generation of Minis, especially because right now they are kind of bottomed out in value. This thing has less than 60,000 miles on it, and I got it for $6 grand. I think you can't get a better deal as far as Minis go. You got the supercharged engine and the convertible top, and everything works as it should. It's got a few little bumps and bruises on it. It's got a little crack there on that front bumper, as you may have seen, and the weather stripping is starting to dry out, and the tires were about 10 years old, so I actually just put all new rubber all the way around on it. But I'm pretty excited, and I think we're going to be doing a video or so on it, going a little more in depth. But
Brendan, I just got permission. I forgot to tell you this morning. Big Cheese approved bringing all these to the airstrip, including the new one, which we'll talk about too.
Ooh,
and
nice.
then we'll do a 4-car comparison next week between every generation of Mini. This is how you know you have a problem. So classic Mini, first of the BMW Mini, second of the BMW Mini, and then we're missing one there, but the Cooper SE. Now, speaking of BMW Minis, let me talk about this. This is 2 of the 3 Minis I own. This is the 2013 Mini Cooper S JCW, John Cooper Works. No, that's JCW. GP. So this is the garbage pile GP, which we bought in 2020. Once again, actually holding on to cars for like more than a few hours. That's kind of unusual here. That's how much I love them. But yeah, we've had this car for a couple of years, and believe it or not, even though that this thing was kind of a mess cosmetically, and it still is kind of a mess cosmetically, it just keeps running and running and running and running and running, and it runs so well, and it's so fast, and it's so fun to drive. It's sitting at 66,000 miles on it. It's got my autocross rubber on it, so I was really into autocross last summer. I've been less into it this summer just because, to be honest with you, it's like an 8-hour day in a parking lot and you get like 4 minutes of run time. So that's just like, it's kind of hard to mentally get around. But with the autocross rubber, this thing is an absolute ripper in the mountains. I actually got this from Mini. I sent them my VIN and they sent me my number. Pretty cool. They actually have spare numbers at the corporate headquarters on the East Coast. So I was number 95. It still has some weird stains on the seats, which will not come out. Like, what is that stain? See that? Why is that there? That has never been able to be erased from the world. That's horrible.
Interesting fact on those seats, actually. Those are the Recaro seats,
Yep.
which only came as standard on the GP, but you could option them on the other Minis. Do you know how much of an option that was?
How much?
$3,000
Wow.
of an option just to get those Recaro seats on any other Mini.
They are good. They're also really expensive nowadays. They're like a couple grand if you want to buy them in the aftermarket. But believe it or not, like, it just doesn't break, this car. It keeps zooming along. I got my custom plate. Zoom 13S, it's supposed to say Zoomies. Nobody understands it. It's because I'm not clever. So that was kind of a mistake. But I also use this car as the chief dog hauler. So I've got my my little blankie down there. This car never came with a rear seat, the GP, which is great for hauling dogs. So Blaze, this is the Blaze Mobile, the Mini Cooper GP. I'm just gonna keep breaking it till it explodes. I mean, driving it till it explodes. It hasn't yet. Anyways, let's come over here and we'll talk about the nicest cars in the group, the 387s. So I don't know how we got on the 1987 kick, but we're here. But we have 3 cars, 3 German cars, all from 1987, and we'll start with the red one. Now this is a 944 turbo. We bought this in December of last year, road tripped it from Phoenix, and once again, it hasn't been driven a ton just because we've been super busy, but it's another phenomenal car. It's never broken, it's fast, it looks great. We've got the set of Firestone Firehawk tires on it. And by the way, I'd strongly recommend looking into these if you have one of these cars or are looking for tires in weird sizes. Firestone makes this tire. It's got a lot of grip. It's really quiet, and you can get them in all kinds of oddball sizes. But this has been fantastic because this car has a really oddball set of tire size on it. 16-inch wheels, and not a lot of companies are making 16-inch tires for 16-inch wheels anymore. So Firestone really came through, and that was a huge deal because these tires were horrible on it. So car is fantastic. It's so fun. One of my top 5 cars of all time, the 944 Turbo. Terrible reputation for reliability, but this one's been really, knock on Porsche, really, really good. Paid 18 grand for it. I think that was a pretty good deal because they're on the up and up. This car was not a good deal. This car was a kind of a disaster. So we bought this last year sometime. It was cheap for a 911, 35 grand. Under 100,000 miles, like a 2-owner car. We're like, oh yeah, did really good, really good. Didn't bother putting the top up. Because why would you test that when buying a 911? Because we're stupid. Went to put the top up, realized the motor was jammed or something, brought it to a shop in Boulder, because it also had this intermittent stalling issue. The shop did nothing, charged us 2 grand. Not great. Brought it to a different shop in Gun Barrel, much better Porsche shop. They had the car for like 9 months. But they did fix the stalling issue, so it has a new ECU on it with a chip. It had a cold solder issue, that's why it was stalling out. And then the top, this top has been the absolute bane of our existence. We put like $10,000 just in the top itself because it needed to be entirely redone. Like not the top itself, the assembly, the way it attaches to the body. What I think happened is at some point in this car's life, one of the motors failed halfway up, and rather than, you know, someone doing the right procedure to put it down, they just took the top and yanked it, and it broke the motor assemblies away from the body. It destroyed the gearbox. I mean, it did thousands and thousands and thousands worth of damage. So 10 grand later, the top is good now. Engine's really strong. It has a new clutch in it. It's got the new Porsche retro radio. Let's see if I can get a shot of that, Brendan. This is actually really cool. This is the talking point of the year. Porsche, believe it or not, still does radio kits for their old cars. It's a real Porsche part. And like it's got Apple CarPlay, it's got a modern day interface. It's just fantastic. It's really expensive, but it really works well. So that's coming to life there, and it's just great. It really is a fantastic. We also got a new steering wheel on it because it had this terrible steering wheel. Yeah, it's great. Car now runs and drives perfectly. Wouldn't hesitate to drive it anywhere in the country, actually. It's really fun. It looks like a turbo. It's not a turbo. You can't get a turbo for 35 grand. All right, now we come to the biggest money pit of the year, the 1987 BMW M535. Fantastic car, actually. The car hasn't broken. The car is perfect. It's $18,000 we paid for it. It's got like 100,000 miles on it. It was a JDM import. It's got the Euro headlights. It's got the factory M Sport body kit and the LSD. It's got a manual transmission. If you come over here, Brendan, check this out. We had the seats fully redone in pretty close to factory configuration, but now it's got like leather bolsters, it's got the suede insert, we still have the little M badges, so the car is great. But then we're like, you know what, this is 90% of an actual M5. It's got the M5 look, it's got the M5 rear diff, it's got the right interior bits, it doesn't have the right engine. So we're like, great, we'll just buy an M5 engine, swap it in there. Well, that turned out to be quite the ordeal. If you want to come over here, Brendan, we might be able to show you in person what an ordeal that's been. So we work with a great guy locally, and we spent months and months and months and months and months sorting and finding all the components. And the engine we found is actually what they call an M88, which is a European market M5 engine. So that's what would have been in that car. High compression, high horsepower. The guy we bought it from was very not forthright about its condition. We paid a lot of money for it, brought it home, opened the top of it up, and it was just rusted to heck. So we went through the ordeal of trying to get parts for this M88 BMW engine. M88 is the European model, S38 is the American one. The M88 had like a single timing chain, and you can see like the block has been completely redone. It's absolutely beautiful. The cylinder head on the engine we bought was toasted, so this is probably the last M88 cylinder head maybe ever. We got like, you know, a lot of the intake bits completely redone, and the fact is we just ran out of money on the project. Especially the Classics channel just doesn't make a lot of money, and like financially it just didn't make sense to keep pouring money in it because we were like, I mean, we're thousands into finding all the bits. We had to get seals and head gaskets, and everything had to come from Europe, from Bulgaria and from Belgium and Germany. I mean, it was such a long process, but we eventually just pulled the plug on it because it's just gotten so unbelievably expensive. If you guys know anybody who's willing to take on rebuilding this engine, putting it together, we got all the bits. You know, send us an email, ask at TFL Truck, because we're kind of stuck as to what we should do with it. It would be so cool to turn that car into a real M5, but it's it's just been a real learning experience, we'll put it that way. So Brendan, let's head outside and we'll finish talking about some of the stuff. This is the top to the SL 500, which is currently just poking around in storage. This is our tractor. This was a big mistake too. My dad bought this tractor because he thought we'd be mowing the lawn all the time, and we've mowed the lawn once. So tractor's not doing a whole lot. But Brendan, let's talk about the affordable collection, we'll call it.
Yeah, so you guys may have seen this 91 Ford Explorer. Recently did an off-road video on it, comparing it to a ZR2. The ZR2 has actually sold. I sold that one, but I've kept this around for a little bit, and I think I'm gonna fix it up a little bit. And actually, one of the viewers had a comment, which I thought was pretty interesting, and a pretty interesting idea, was turning it into the Jurassic Park Explorer. And I kind of want to go that route. I don't know if I'm willing to put in the money for a full wrap, but I don't know, maybe if you guys have some ideas on how I can get there on the cheap, put it in the comments below, and maybe that could help me out. But
you could yeah, paint the wheels yellow and call it a day.
Yeah, there we go.
You actually, I was wrong. You do have the right Jurassic Park wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're
Yeah, you could paint them yellow, put in a bull bar on there, and I don't know, I've seen some people do that like clear transparent roof up there, but I think that would be a massive, massive expense to be able to do something like that. Yeah.
Well, check out the interior, Brendan. This thing is nice on the inside.
Yeah, I mean, this has super 90s rad interior. I love these seats, and you just don't see these too often with the manual transmission. You see tons of these with automatics, and they're kind of a dime a dozen. You can find them everywhere, but finding one with that Mazda manual transmission is actually quite rare.
Didn't you just buy one with a automatic?
Yeah, I did. I bought another one of these with an automatic transmission, thinking how cool would that be to do a side-by-side comparison of a manual Explorer and an automatic Explorer from the early 90s, and the automatic one, well, the transmission's toast. So
yikes.
We're not gonna do that. But I also have my $500 Volvo. You may have seen we did some off-roading with it. Also on the TFL car channel, you can see Andre and I picking this up to see if it would even start, because I didn't know when it ran across the auction block, and it was actually the auctioneer pulled a little bit at my heartstrings because no one was bidding on it. And I kind of had a feeling that this was going to go to the crusher if I didn't buy it, and thought it'd be so sad to see one of these cool old Volvos in the crusher. So raised my hand, and he just immediately said sold. Now I own it for 500 bucks. And actually, today we are going to be taking it to the mechanic to see what all really is wrong with it. So that video should be coming up fairly soon.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. And I don't really know what we're going to do with it. One of the ideas we had is just to kind of paint the hood, paint the front end, right, so it all matches. And then maybe put some cool stickers on the side, some off-roady tires, and turn it into like a super cheap rally car.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea too. Just fix it up. I mean, it needs brakes. That's the main thing it needs right now. But do those brakes and maybe do some performance upgrades as well. I don't know. Again, if you guys have some ideas, throw them in those comments below, and maybe we'll do it.
Performance upgrade. It has like 90 horsepower.
Right. Well, maybe we can give it 100 horsepower. Get it up into the triple digits.
That's an idea.
There you go.
All right, you want to take this?
Yeah, I know everybody is wanting to know what's been going on with your Jeep, Tommy.
Yeah, so I bought this for right around 2,400 bucks after auction fees. It's a 90-something. I'm forgetting the year. 96, I think. 96.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I'm sorry.
96 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo. And the reason I bought it is because it's clearly been very well loved. I mean, look how nice the interior is. It's just a really nice car on the inside. It's got the original paint, which is faded in spots. Now, I bought it, I was really excited about it, so I immediately went to the junkyard. Got a new hood for it because the hood was rusted out. Got a new gate for it, and I was planning on doing like a budget restoration. And then I realized this transmission feels like it's shifting a little weird. And then I realized, oh, it doesn't have a second gear. So first, third, and fourth, ace, no second gear. It's a common issue on Grand Cherokee, so it really needs a transmission. And then the question is like, well, this is a $2,000 Jeep. Like, do I want to put the money into a transmission to fix it properly? So I was considering doing it, and then this happened. If you want to come back here, Brendan, we did a tug of war with the Bronco, and the whole ass ripped off of it because I'm stupid. So it was like a spur of the moment thing. I'm like, well, we need this for a tug of war. It doesn't have a tow point. So I found this solid looking recovery recovery point. It's not a recovery point. It was a seam weld on the underside of the unibody. I hooked a D-ring up to it. We did a tug of war, and I'm like, oh, the bumper ripped off. Well, it turns out it did a lot more than that, because it actually tore the sheet metal, as you can see, away from the backside of the Jeep. And it bent the crash bar. So that just totally discouraged me. I mean that's mechanically just totaled out the whole Jeep right there. You can see that yeah, not great. So I don't really know what I'm gonna do with it, to be honest with you. I'm just very discouraged. I could put a new crash bar and a new bumper on it and sell it. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll stick a new crash bar on it, a new bumper cover, and we'll stick it on TFL bids. I think that's probably going to be the plan. It has a clean title. It runs and I mean, the engine, it's got 212,000 miles, but this little 4-liter, it runs beautifully. It really has a nice little purr to it. It also needs a cat, so at that point it's just like, what do you do with it? So maybe we'll put it on TFL bids, no reserve, just get it sold. This would be a fantastic budget off-roader for someone that wants that, because it's very rust-free. I mean, it's very solid underneath. The steering's good, the brakes are good. It just needs a transmission if you want a second gear.
Well, and not only would this make a great budget off-roader, but I mean, how many budget off-roaders do you know that have purple carpet?
Look at that purple carpet. Look how nice the back seat is. Look at that. It's like it's never been sat in. Anyway, that's the depressing thing about that car. You want to give me the camera for a sec, Brenton?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't talk about that car. That car is my biggest source of shame in the entire world. That's my Peugeot 404, which I was so excited to do a restoration on. Turns out welding is a lot harder than I thought. So maybe this winter, once I have more time, I can start really working on it. But it's
Well, there's one way down there, Tommy. You haven't talked about it.
Oh, that's the Land Rover. Yeah, the Series 2. That's my buddy Chase Younggreen's. That's his Land Rover. He just brought it here to store for a while. He just bought it, actually. And yeah, he's going to do something. I don't know what he's going to do with it, but we have land. And he's like, can I park my thing there? And I'm like, yeah, that's probably fine. So now we're going to walk over to the new TFL barn. The pole barn is almost done. This is where we're going to do a lot of our winter production. This is where we're going to store a lot of our cars in the winter. And David Morrow has just done a phenomenal job of making this happen. It's a huge barn, actually. It's like 70 some feet by 40 some feet. We built it from the ground up, and it was a prefab barn. They assembled it, and then David's been working like a madman to get the inside done. And I bet he's still working. Can I borrow that mic from you, Brendan?
Here you go.
Thank you, sir. David!
Tommy.
You want to put this mic on?
Oh, sure.
Dude, the barn is coming along.
Yeah, I'm making progress piece by piece.
So what have you been working on?
So after the insulation, I ordered the metal for the ceiling. We're going to do metal on the ceiling. But, you know, Roman was concerned about noise bouncing off, lots of echo. So I decided not to do metal on the walls and do plywood.
Oh.
And 2 reasons is because you guys have been sending us all kinds of license plates and paraphernalia, and we want to be able to put it on anywhere we want. So with this, we can just take our drill and put posters up or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna paint it white.
I love that.
And then I'll put the ceiling up. We're gonna seal the floor, and then it'll be ready to use.
Now let's talk about one of David's coolest vehicles that he has here. So this is a square body GMC with the Cummins swap. What's been new with the old truck here, David?
Hey, we like diversity here at TFL. You guys have been seeing all the other foreign stuff. You know, I'm into trucks. You know how many trucks I have now, tell me?
3.
9.
9?
9.
What are the other trucks?
Well, I bought 2 more Dodges.
So you got this truck.
Yeah.
You got the other blue GMC, which you've seen on the channel.
I do.
You've got the dually 3500
Dodge.
Dodge.
I have a 90, I bought another 12 valve.
Okay.
Yep.
So 4.
Which brings me back to this point, but we'll come back to that.
Okay, we're at 4.
I have a 72 GMC.
Here, let's go on this side so we're not blinding
Okay.
people. Okay, so 5, the 72.
Okay, I have a 72. I have a 73 square body.
Is that new?
No, I've had it for a while, but
Okay.
it doesn't run.
Okay.
But I want to work on it.
Okay.
And then I have my 45 that you've driven.
Oh, I love the 1945, yep.
And then I have a, I bought another 96 for parts.
Okay.
And then I have, of course, my Suburban.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and we haven't forgot my brown one, my extended cab 92.
So you have 10 trucks,
Something like that.
4 Chevys, 6 Dodges or something like that.
GMCs, 2 Dodges.
Not
So that brings me to this right here.
Not a single
is-
Ford.
So I have too many trucks. I'm thinking about selling this.
Whoa.
Yeah, my baby. It's been my baby for quite some time. You think I should sell it?
Well, it's worth a lot of money.
So
Would you want to explain what you did to it?
yeah, so if you guys would tell me, after I get done telling you all about it, tell me what it's worth, because it's really hard to put a price tag on it, because it's been a labor of love for a number of years. But it's not only a very rare truck in being a crew cab, long bed, 4-wheel drive, square body, which they don't come, you know, a lot of them came dualies, 2-wheel drive dualies. Not many of them came 4-wheel drive. And then even fewer came 4-wheel drive without the dualies in the back. So it is a true 3500 with a 3500 frame. And I took the 454 out and I put a Cummins in it about 3 years ago. And it's been to 18, 19 states. I've put nearly 40,000 miles on it. I've pulled my camper to Michigan and back. I've took it on a ferry across Lake Michigan. I have worked in it. It's a work truck.
But look at this, David. I mean, what's
Yeah.
cool about this truck is probably original paint.
Yeah, it is.
And there's no rust.
No rust. This truck has a little bit of surface rust. I mean, but they're virtually the pans, I mean, where they rust out, like right here. I mean, there's no rust. It started to, and I put some, I don't know, some kind of rust prevention. So, you know, I got a lot of this right here. I mean, just chips and all kinds of scrapes and scratches, but very few dents. The only real dent is right here. It's really hard to see. It was kind of like just a little, I don't know, indentation. That's the only thing right there that's wrong with the body. Well, yeah.
Yeah, for the most part.
I mean, it's a work truck.
Yeah, it's an old truck.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I painted the front. It needs a windshield. The seat's ripped. Hey, the grill's good.
Grill's
I put
good.
a winch on it. I put new springs on all 4 wheels. I put, it's got airbags.
Well, I've been in this truck down the road, and it goes like stink. I mean, it's a fast truck.
So when I put the new springs on, I had custom springs put on it. It just made it ride so much nicer.
Did it really?
It's a
Yeah.
progressive spring. There's 10 springs on all 4 corners, and man, it made a big difference. Big difference.
It's a nice truck, David.
It is a nice truck, and I've got so many projects that I'm thinking maybe it's time. Yeah, the dash is cracked underneath there.
Maybe it's time to let it go.
Yeah, maybe it's time to let it go.
We could also put it on bids. That's
We
another
could.
option.
That's an option.
Yeah.
I need to know what it's worth, so I need you guys to help me out. It has head studs in the motor. It's got a bigger turbo. It's got AFC.
You want to pop the hood?
Yeah,
Sure.
sure.
Show 'em.
I mean, it's ready for big power. I just haven't put big power in it. I built it thinking that I would put compound turbos on it. I did put a bigger turbo on it, but it has head studs, the original manifold and all that. But it's got a big block radiator, which this thing cools this thing amazingly, pulling my camper. 2 batteries. I put 2 batteries in it. Big old cables, monster cables.
Wow, look at that.
It's got a 1-wire alternator. It's
It's a nice truck.
I mean, it runs flawless. It really does. I mean, it just starts like that every time. So
Sweet. Well, we'll get the comments section going.
yeah, let me know, because I would really like to take one of my other projects and build it out. So I need the money.
Sure.
You can't just, and plus registration on that many trucks and insurance. I kind of need to move on to another project.
All right. Well, David, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Keep up the great work on the barn. You're killing it.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I'll take the mic from you, and I'll
Okay.
let you get back to work.
All right.
Brendan and I will finish this
I
up.
probably gave you more info than I should have.
I loved
but-
it. It was great. All right, so of course we got another member of the TFL Classics team. We talked about Brendan and David, but what about Case and what's going on with his little fleet?
Yeah, my little fleet that seems to get bigger and bigger. My fleet is good, Tommy. My truck, which hasn't been on the channel in a long time, but we've made tons of videos with, is still kicking. Paint actually still looks pretty good, which I'm impressed with because my buddy Connor and I painted this in our garage about 2 years ago, and I would have thought by now it would have all flaked off, but it's still mostly on.
Yeah, it looks great. And this 12 valve Cummins still running good?
Yeah, 12 valve's good. My 5-speed transmission is good. I'm glad that I don't have an automatic every time I drive it. I've been putting more miles on the Corvette that's been popping up on the channel a lot recently than this truck, but coming into winter, it's going to be time to get this thing out on the road consistently because that Corvette is not going to be a good snow car.
Yeah, actually, Case's fleet's all working. The Corvette's running well.
Yeah, the Corvette runs well. I have a motorcycle that doesn't have an engine in it, but other than that, everything. Oh, and actually, my Mercedes has a massive coolant leak coming from the water pump itself.
Oh,
I mean, it happens kind of slowly, but it loses about all of its coolant.
after enough time.
Yeah, so it's not great.
My beloved Lexus LS 430 is no more. I was on a vacation and some truck driver let a truck or a rock about the size of a basketball fly off the back, went underneath my car, denting the frame, popping the gas tank, a hole in it. It damaged the wheel, denting it, a whole bunch of damage. I have a few images I'll send Tommy and maybe he can throw them up here. And yeah, it's pretty sad to see, but it got totaled out, so it's gone. And also I have a Passat W8 that you guys may have seen a while ago. I'm on the fence about selling that. I just don't drive it too much. If I do sell it, probably go up on bids. But I don't know. Let me know if what you guys think in the comments below. If it's a car that I just don't drive that much anymore, and maybe it's time to get it onto the next owner. But my new favorite right now is my Yukon. I've been driving the wheels off of that thing. I'm fixing things left and right. I fixed the AC on it, so it's no longer doing that weird clicking noise that it was. I fixed the mirror on it that was delaminating, upgraded the radio, a whole bunch of little things, and oh, the S10. That S10 with the bad transmission, I am still trying to figure out what to do with that thing. I don't know. I've been quoted $3,000 to replace the transmission on that, and I'm just not going to put $3,000 into that truck. So again, I'm curious as to what I should do. I don't really know. It's just sitting in my yard, and I'm kind of left with what to do. And the last one is my Baja Bug that still runs great. I love that thing.
It still runs great.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this has been a monster of a fleet update. Let us know what you think in the comment section below.
Absolutely. Got lots of things we need to know from you guys.
All right, we're going to go see what's wrong with the $500 Volvo, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, guys.